They do love their divinity lessons.
But they are naked.
Naturally, it's much too dangerous to jump through the fire with your clothes on.
Christopher Lee is a fucking G. Like, that's not a controversial thing to say. But it's fair to say he was probably typecast a lot in his career. Usually playing Dracula. I think he played him about 47 times.
Wow.
Among other... Well, no, that's not a real thing, I think.
Yeah.
But it was a lot. It was
yeah,
a lot.
it's a lot, yeah.
And he got tired of it himself. Because, you know, didn't really do accents, didn't really do whatever, wasn't exactly a chameleon, but he was so charismatic. And I loved seeing him not playing a villain. Horror Express comes to mind. Like, he plays the hero of the piece. And I love it. I love seeing him not playing a villain, doing something else. And he was tired of constantly playing those sort of roles for Hammer horror.
Yeah.
So he was really involved in the making of the Wicker Man from the start, and it was a kind of like a project before it was even conceived that they were going to buy the rights to Ritual, which was the novel it was loosely based on. That he wanted to do something different, and he wanted to do a different horror. He didn't like that modern horror movies, as he saw it at the time, were relying too much on gore and violence and jump scares, even though they'd seem completely tame to nowadays. And he wanted something that was really light and gore and really different, and they got the idea of doing old ancient religions and doing research. So he was really involved from the get-go. And watching it now, I hadn't watched it since I was a kid, and I completely forgot they're all Scottish.
Yeah. I'm afraid it can't be done, sir. This is private property. You can't land here without written permission.
Yeah, it's obviously set in Scotland. Christopher Lee, going back to your point about being involved in it, I don't know when he said this, because he might have done roles later down the line, but when he first said it, like, I don't know, Saruman and maybe the newer roles in Star Wars, like Count Dooku. I can't see him thinking Count Dooku as this, but he said personally that he believes this is in his opinion, his favourite role and greatest role that he's done. And how involved was he in this film? He basically paid to do all his press junkets himself out of his own pocket, because it didn't really get a lot of hype at the time. So he was like, well, I'm going to promote this myself out of my own money. So yeah, he still loves this film to this day.
Well, I didn't know that. I knew he skipped out on his salary, as did a lot of the other stars, bigger stars in the movie. But he's not the centerpiece of the movie like he usually would be. He's actually quite restrained, and the real villain of the movie is the entire population of the island.
Yeah,
it's just wonderful. From the moment the policeman shows up on the island in search for this little girl that he's received a mysterious note about, everyone is just weird. Like, even when they're friendly, it's with this bizarre, it's like the friendliness is a bizarre veil and can't work out quite what's underneath. And it doesn't take long. Like, as soon as he shows up to the first pub where he's going to stay the night, everyone's like singing this weird like seaside jaunty about fucking the bar owner's daughter.
The parts of every gentleman do stand up at attention.
And she's going along with it, and he's just like smoking his pipe, listening to them all sing about shagging his daughter, like not bothered. And you can see he doesn't like it, because from the very opening shot, it establishes that he's a deeply, deeply religious Catholic man. Virgin, waiting for marriage, engaged to be married, and he doesn't like any of this. So he stops out for a second, and the moment he walks out of the pub, he just starts seeing all kinds of shit. It's like Disneyland on Halloween night.
No, I'm sure they must have based, League of Gentlemen. where they go into the shop and like, you're not from round here,
This
are
is a
you?
local shop for
Yeah,
local people.
yeah.
100%,
They
I know
must
what you
have,
mean.
like, literally.
Because he
like-
shines his torch around and there's about like 5 or 6 couples just shagging on
Yeah,
the grass.
yeah.
And then he walks past this graveyard and there's this completely naked, beautiful woman. Like, is she crying on this tombstone?
No, I think
Is she laughing?
I think what she's doing is I read into this because I was like, what is the point of this?
I thought you'd be interested in that bit.
It doesn't last that long. But apparently what she's doing, according to the actual director himself, is holding an egg. And basically what that means is whatever religion this is based on, I assume paganism.
Yeah. Well,
Or some old ancient religion,
Yeah.
whatever. Like holding an egg or whatever is a fertility kind of ritual because she wanted a baby.
Yeah.
Apparently, so that's what she was doing. And I was thinking,
on
like,
what? Wait. So she had an egg.
she had an egg, but you just
Where was the
don't,
gravestone?
you just don't see it.
What does the gravestone come into?
I don't know.
Maybe trying to get pregnant. Maybe he died.
Yeah,
and she was trying to
yeah,
get pregnant
yeah.
by him. But yeah, everything's bizarre, and he is just
Very
immediately like, "What the fuck is going on here? Like, this is well weird." And everyone's kind of, there's some big festival coming up, and
Yeah.
it's to do with the harvest, because this place is known for producing the most beautiful, amazing fruit. But and the policeman, when he's having his dinner, he asks for, like, he wants to try some of the fruit, like some of the local apples. And everyone keeps saying, "Oh, there aren't any." And he slowly puts it together that for the first time in maybe 100+ years, the harvest didn't come in, completely failed. And so anyway, so he's looking for this missing girl, and he's subtly getting flirted, pretty subtle, then quickly not very subtle, flirted with by the owner of the bar's daughter.
Cheer up. Food isn't everything in life, you know.
And he can hear her just pulling a different guy home every
Yeah,
night,
yeah,
shagging him very loudly in the room next door to him where he's staying. So he's kind of like, his head's in a bit of a trip there, and you can see the temptation, but this is, you wouldn't, especially in a modern sense, wouldn't agree with his position morally on most things, but he's clearly a man of high ethics, and he holds himself to those ethics. Like, he doesn't stray once in this movie.
No.
He doesn't even seem tempted by the beautiful women that are throwing themselves at him at various points in the movie. And he seems very, not just devoted to his fiancée back home, but to the idea that, no, I don't believe in that. I believe in waiting for marriage.
I also think he's very focused on whatever these fucking freaks are doing. Very focused on the job at hand of trying to find this girl. Like, obviously he's like all confused. You would be like, imagine if you went up the high street and everyone was just running around naked. You'd be like, right.
This is
What-
good. To be honest, I
what is
gotta be
going
honest,
on?
I was like, this place is great. Man.
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
fucking. Everyone's like dancing and laughing around.
But yeah, I think he's just focused on trying to find this missing girl. So
Yeah.
he's kind of like not only devoted to his Catholicism, his religion, he is a very dedicated police sergeant as well, and he's like very professional. He's always been like, when he's trying to find the girl and they're giving him riddles, like, I've got a job to do. Like, do you know what
It's
I mean?
true, because he is a stranger in a strange land.
yeah.
Very intimidating, stuck on an island with all these fucking weirdos.
yeah.
And he's having to like accuse the own mother of this girl, supposedly, of lying about having a daughter.
Yeah.
Which is a hard sell even to yourself, but everyone's just so adamant. And then it flips quite quickly, because he starts finding evidence that she did exist, and then people are kind of all of a sudden like, oh yeah, maybe, there is a girl on this island with a population of like 200 people that I just forgot about, I guess. Oh yeah, she's been missing for a few months.
Yeah.
And then he finds out she's supposedly dead. But what else is going on? And he's a bit like, huh? So he meets this really unusual man who works at the graveyard, who plants different flowers and stuff on the graves. Did you recognise him, by the way?
I did recognise his face, but I didn't recognise who he was.
He's the creepy teacher who grabs Alex's balls when he comes round to see why he was truant in A Clockwork Orange.
Really?
The man who always goes, yeah.
Oh, really?
That guy. Yeah.
I recognised him. I was like, where do I know this guy?
He is a legend, man.
Yeah.
That's the only two things I can ever think of him being in. But he is just so... He's got such a... He's like...
Creepy pedophile.
He should be in a Carry On movie, but he's actually a good actor.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he's just
yeah.
He's just a weird enigma, but I love seeing him pop up. But anyway, so he's on this mission, and he's just can't figure out. But he is getting sidetracked by how strange this town is.
Oh, you would be.
This village, this island, and he comes across. He goes to visit the classroom where the little girl in question went to supposedly. And he immediately can see there's one desk right in the middle that isn't filmed. But they're all denying, like, no little girl of that name ever went to school here. And the teacher's teaching the children about the phallic symbol and about how the dick is this, that and the other in our religion. And he's like saying, I'm going to report you to the authorities when I get back because of your teaching practices and all this.
Indecency in public places. And there is corruption of the young, and now I see it all stems from here. It stems from the filth taught here in this very schoolroom.
He does come across like... I meant to look into how this movie was received at the time. Because I did find myself being like, you're a bit boring, and this island seems a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, he is the hero that you're following. But you're also... And you want, it's the little girl's missing, you want him to find her. But at the same time, I was like, I'm kind of like liking these lot, to be honest. Like
the desk thing just cracks me up.
Oh yeah,
like when he just points to the desk and goes, "Well, who sat there then?" And it's like, well, I take it like they just feel no threat to authority or police anyway, because he's threatening them with like, "I'm gonna do you in for obstructing justice." And it's like, if they cared this much about the missing girl, they would have at least tried to hide the desk if they know it was there. Do you know what I mean?
Anywhere, even outside of the Wicker Man, anywhere you go, when you're on a little island, doesn't matter what country it belongs to, they always kind of see like that. We play by our own rules a bit.
Mate, I've been to fucking Hastings, and like, you go in the pub there, and they're like, they hear your accent, and like, you're not from the country, are you?
Yeah, they're all freaked out.
Yeah.
So he starts exploring more. So he keeps hearing from people. He's like, I want to have the... Once he finds out she's supposedly dead, he's like, I want this grave exhumed and all this and blah, blah, blah. And the people, everyone's just like, oh, you need permission from the Lord. And he's like, I'm a policeman. What are you on about?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
just do it. And they're like, no, you need to get permission from the Lord. So he rocks up to visit the Lord, who seemingly runs the whole island. And it's the big man, Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
And it's interesting seeing Christopher Lee because he is the villain. I actually said at the start, like, it's nice seeing him not playing a villain. So that's kind of like, I don't know if that's like a Freudian slip, because I don't see him as a villain. I guess he is in this movie, but I see him like, the people on this island genuinely believe, as devoutly as the policeman believes in Catholicism, they believe in this crazy horseshit that they're going on about. So, is he bad? Is he a villain, or is he doing what eventually they do at the climax of the movie? Is he just doing what he sees right for the people?
To reverence the music and the drama and the rituals of the old gods. To love nature and to fear it.
To
Well,
bring
that
the
was my
harvest in.
question as well, but it obviously throws into the fire a lot of moral questions. Like, literally, to help all these people, is it worth what they do to the one person at the end of the film? That is the question.
Who you assume at this point is the little girl. Because he starts to, as he's like uncovering more and more about this bizarre pagan beliefs they have, he puts it together in his own mind that they're going to sacrifice this little girl at this upcoming festival, that they keep hinting that he should leave and he won't like it, trying to get him out. He believes she's going to be sacrificed at the festival. So he gets up to the big day and he heads to the festival, and he knocks out one of the guys that's going to show up.
The pub owner,
The pub owner, and puts on his outfit. and because they're all wearing costumes, so that's how he sneaks into the festivities without being noticed. And he eventually finds the little girl, where she kind of like emerges out of this cave, and he runs up to her and he knocks out the guy next to her, and she's saying, "I'm scared, like help me, mister." So he runs off with her, and she leads him down all these like caverns and different holes, and she's like, "I know the way to the boat or wherever, like where we can escape." And he gets there. They emerge out of another cave hole into the opening, and Christopher Lee and a few of the other chicks and the high up people in the town are waiting for him.
Did I do it right?
You did it beautifully! Dear little Rowan.
Little missing bitch has been a Debbie Downer double crosser. Literally, to poor old police sergeant who's been trying to find her this whole time. And then you see the big wooden structure in the distance.
Oh God! Oh Jesus Christ!
You kind of like twig, this is not going to end well for poor police sergeant.
It was a good pun, by the way, twig.
Yeah.
The Wicker Man. You see the Wicker Man in full glory. And it's a fucked up moment because you kind of like, if you've never seen it before, you'd still be thinking, wow, how's he going to get out of this? And spoiler, he doesn't. You very slowly, over about 10 minutes, see him get put into the Wicker Man. They start setting it on fire. The arms and legs are filled with different animals, farm animals.
Yeah, pigs.
As part of the sacrifice as well. And you see the fire start to go up the legs, and he starts to hear the animals start to scream in agony, knowing that that's what he's going to be screaming just like them in a few minutes. And he doesn't try and escape, because he doesn't look that strong. You look like certain parts of it you might be able to just boot
I was thinking that as well. Yeah,
adrenaline, and you've got a couple of minutes.
But I think he's quite high though, man. Like,
fuck yeah, I'd rather jump out than
that's
whatever.
True. Yeah.
But he doesn't try and escape, and he's proclaiming the whole time, like, I believe in the resurrection, I believe in God, I believe in the Catholic faith, blah blah blah. And the fires just go up, and they cover him eventually, and he burns to death in the Wicker Man.
Yeah.
While Christopher Lee and all these people dressed up in weird costumes are singing and dancing and.
There's one thing that I didn't get about this film though. You know that Christopher Lee done a whole speech of, we basically lured you here.
A man who would come here of his own free will.
A man who has come here with the power of a king by representing the law.
A man who would come here as a virgin.
There was one bit in it, the whole virgin thing, where the landlord's daughter is trying to entice him to come into her room to like fuck her.
Which is a really good scene.
She's like naked.
She's doing like some crazy naked dance for like 10 minutes.
Sweating and like. But like, if they wanted him to remain a virgin, why did she do that? I don't really understand.
I guess partly because you get to see her naked dancing for like 3 minutes, and then partly,
didn't mind that.
Partly because I guess maybe they're trying to tempt him. Like, if they really believe all this, then they need to know he's the real deal.
Okay.
People might say, I've never had sex before marriage, but do you really believe it? And that's probably why it's nearly ironic that as he's been dragged towards the Wicker Man, his defence is to double down on his faith. That was probably just making his demise all the more likely. If he'd renounced his faith, maybe they would have been like, worried it won't work.
This guy's not the right person now. Get rid of him. Get him to go. Yeah.
And the reason I rushed to the end was because I want to then re-talk through the movie once you know, because this is not the first time I watched it, so I was watching it from this point of view, that watching it knowing that all the time he is what they're after, it's really interesting just to know that, to watch that he is just a rat in a maze.
You came here to find Rowan Morrison, but it is we who have found you and brought you here, and controlled your every thought and action since you arrived.
And they are leading him towards everything. Everything's laid out for him. It's like a giant escape room that he doesn't realise he's in, where everyone's in on the act. Everyone knows what's going on. It's like the Truman Show in a weird sort of way.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen this film, but many years ago. And I was kind of just watching it while my dad was watching it, so I wasn't really like fully at a young age, so I didn't really get all the other elements of it. But I'm not really a big fan of, I guess, can we call this the horror genre still?
Yeah.
I've said many times I'm not a big fan of the horror genre, but exactly what Christopher Lee was saying, I like this film simply because it strays off the typical horror genre of like heads being chopped off and stuff like that, and you know, you can clearly see the influences in it. Hot Fuzz, you know, Midsummer.
Yeah.
Another one,
absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And I just thoroughly enjoyed it again.
The little old beetle goes round and round, always the same way, you see, until it ends up right up tight to the nail. Poor old thing.
Yeah, I love watching this movie now, knowing the ending.
Yeah.
On repeat viewings. And just seeing how he is always getting led towards this thing. He's never solving a case. He's just following the breadcrumbs the way they've laid out for him. And I wonder, like, how much planning did this take? How much rehearsing did it take? Everyone in town's in on it. How did the little girl get chosen? She seems like delighted. Like when she runs up to Christopher Lee at the end once the cop realises that he's been tricked. She's like asking, did I do good? Did I do good? But how did the whole thing operate?
Yeah.
How long have they been planning this?
But how did they know? How did they know that whatever policeman sent, because I assume that he comes from a police station, it would be him exactly? Like the Virgin guy?
Well, he says he received an anonymous note.
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
Directly to him.
Yeah.
So then it also makes you wonder, did he go? Did he even tell anyone he was going?
Yeah, because it's not. Well, the other thing is, when he knew about it and he couldn't get the plane, I was thinking, why doesn't he just use like a telephone and like ring the police station? Because they did have phones in like 1970s. So, do you know what I mean? But I didn't see a telephone the whole time in this film. That's another
I might be
thing.
asking a dumb question, but did they have telephones on islands back then?
Do you know what? They might not have, because of there was no...
I don't know, to be honest.
But I was thinking, like, it's not a film that would work modern day. You just, like, get your mobile out and, like, right, these fucking people are in a cult.
Or, like,
send.
The first fucking naked person running through the street you see, you just text your boss, like, send more people.
Yeah, send more people. Because he does say, like, I'm going to come back with more police.
Well, to be fair, he's only there for 2 days before he's like, what the fuck? I need to leave.
And obviously, someone fucks around with a plane, so he's fucked, isn't he? Like, there's only one plane, so it must have taken a lot of planning, man. But if you think about it, Declan, if they execute this correctly, they're never going to have to worry about it for another 100 years.
Yeah, true, yeah.
So
it's funny as well how, like you said, like, would you even call this a horror? I definitely would, and it definitely was at the time.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because it is a different sort of horror. Like Christopher Lee set out to do, it doesn't deal with gore, it doesn't resort to different things. Nothing wrong with any of those things, I love them, but it goes about in a different way. And I appreciate that, and I think it does build a really ominous, horrible feeling. But it fucks itself over at times with the choice of songs.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Like them all jumping around like the corn is going to get growled.
I'm not talking about those.
Oh right.
I enjoyed all the in the movie songs that they were singing as part of the rituals. I'm talking about the diegetic music non-diegetic music where, you know, as he arrives on the island, that should be an ominous, creepy moment, but it's played over this like corny folk song.
The moon's unclouded light I held a while to Annie. The time went by.
Of a guy on acoustic guitar, and that plays quite that comes back and is used quite often throughout the first 10-20 minutes when he's like getting used to the island.
Yeah, I get what
and
you're
it
saying.
just kills any kind of tension. Kind of like Midsummer, it's very sunny and bright, which is fine, but I don't know, it does at times it kills what horror is there,
Yeah.
And it doesn't build enough creepy tension.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man.
It might seem a bit tame to younger viewers by modern standards, and it's been so influential on certain movies that you'll probably feel like you've seen it before. But if you love old movies, if you love old horror, if you love Christopher Lee, then there's a lot to get out of this movie. It is an iconic horror classic and well worth your time.
This is the Filmy McFilm Film Show.